That song really creeped me out when I was a kid. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of We Are VR Troopers. Last time, our heroes have witnessed the tragic event when Professor Hart, as well as his lab, were being under attack by Grimlord, as well as General Ivar and Colonel Icebot. Fortunately, they were able to destroy the two thugs, but damage was already done. So Ryan has actually vowed to take the fight to Grimlord himself, leaving Tyler abandoned in reality. Meanwhile, Kaitlin and JB have actually reunited with Snake and her undead clan, who have actually had a change of heart as they were about to revolt against Kaitlin and her doppelganger, but has actually joined them instead. They accepted on what she could do, and they didn't want Kaitlin to go to the graveyard or the scrap metal yard. So they took on the war effort. And with Cheetah, she actually decided to go with Galileo to Ziktor Industries, where they would disguise themselves as trick-or-treaters since it's still around the Halloween season. So, with all that out of the way, let's get on with the show. Alright, episode 97, Infiltration. Some songs would... Oh, by the way, what you just heard was from the Strider soundtrack, from the Genesis version they used to play when I was a kid. I can't pinpoint exactly when I was introduced to the game, but I think it might have been around the same time I was into the VR Troopers. Heck, I think some of the tracks really work in the fight scenes. I mean, heck, even the enemy Air Force track theme from UN Squadron would be a nice fit. I couldn't really find it. I don't want to get in trouble with this. Anyway, this may be a two-parter. One for Cheetah, another for JB and Kaitlin. Ryan will have to come later, so let's just get this over with. The troopers, Kaitlin and JB, joined up with Snake, the head of the Deathskin Raisers, as well as her entire legion of undead skeletons. They eventually arrived and looked over an open battlefield. They saw a bunch of mutants, mainly the trolls, face off with an endless swarm of Ultra Skugs. Apparently those were Grimlord's mooks before he should send out the heavier artillery, JB suspected. The hero suddenly felt a large tremor as well as a humongous distinctive sound that was strong enough to emit a shockwave, stunning their enemies upon contact. They also tended to squeal as they tried to escape the massive cloud of stench that was erupted from the trolls' rear ends, no less. They were led by Mo and Spew-Puke, and while their kind wasn't the most effective against constant oncoming assaults, they made up for it as the best lines of defense utilizing their bulk, muscle, and endurance. Instead of taking the fight on the ground, being exposed to the nauseating vicinity, JB summoned and engineered the skybase. Kaitlin, Clut, and Snake jumped in afterward, while her flesh-eating comrades took the front lines, as they never cared about the immense odor since they were technically undead. As the quartet were soaring over the calamity... "Look, JB, it's the air castle!" "Yeah, it seems that Colonel Icebot is at it again. I wonder if he should turn into an abomination like last time. If we take out General Ivar, he should be join in with his other pals. I can't wait to shatter his cold-hearted shin for good into billions of ice shards." They eventually approached the Sky Castle, finally confronting Colonel Icebot. Below them, the techies arrived backing up the Ultra Skugs, putting the foot soldiers in a state of paralysis by their electrocution whenever they made contact. This put them in a vulnerable disadvantage, as a taste of having their own medicine for being puny underlings. Meanwhile, Cheetah, Galileo, Gangrene, and Bones Jackson finally arrived at the exterior to the 100-foot-tall skyscraper. Looking up, Cheetah said, "Whoa, this place sure is high. I bet this was how Grimlord appears in the Dark Fortress." After that, she dropped her head since she was getting an unsettling feeling coursing through her body. She always got that nervous sensation whenever she looked up at an extremely tall structure. The mutants, though, weren't really affected. "Time to end his reign of dominance, once and for all." And maybe I'll get back to doing what I do best, my hobby on ruling my own domain with my own kind. Ow! Hey, don't let it get to your head. There's still a lot of space up there. Get your feet on the ground where they belong. Ow! She was being pierced by JB's robot using his metallic claw. Bickering would get us nowhere. I have scanned the place and it is being looked over by female agents. They knew the trek would not be easy. Oh, I have a bad feeling about this. She felt her stomach lurch after hearing the bot's warning. Let's get this over with. Hey, we'll protect you, human. You're safe with us. I'd personally vouch to send them to the graves with closed caskets. They soon marched inside when they entered two massive automatic doors. The place was accompanied by dim lighting, and sometimes they felt as if the walls would close on them, making the hallways have that claustrophobic effect. Gangrene and Jackson figured the best chance was to get to the top floor of the creepy castle, assuming that was where Ziktor's prison was. To their surprise, every room was full, with dead silence, that is. They suspected things were too quiet and easy, wondering if the party should await them upstairs. The trio whispered and agreed to never use any of the provided lifts, as they could be littered with booby traps. They decided to head up more discreetly by treading slowly and quietly. Everyone remained on high alert as they kept their ears and eyes open for a possibility of an ambush. Moments later, which seemed like almost half an hour to them, they finally made it to the top. Straight ahead was another wide door embedded in a large font, Carl Ziktor. Bones volunteered to try the doorknob, thinking it could be protected by something, like it would be red hot to the touch. Fortunately, it just unlocked, allowing them access into his personal office. It was just as opaque as the rooms before it, and he actually saw the cause of all that darkness. There was a large window covered by very thick black blinds that were drawn closed. They could barely see the large table smack dab in the center and the huge iguana cage to the right. Heh! I never knew Grimlord would own an alien here. It's not really an alien. He's a reptile. I'm not sure if it's either an iguana or a chameleon. The reptile just looked through the glass and licked its mouth. But the one thing that really caught their attention was a little green prison illuminating in its sinister glow. So this is how Ziktor gets into virtual reality and becomes Grimlord. She was fascinated by this. Yeah, I bet this was how he was able to assimilate Mr. Steele's knowledge. Now, if only to destroy this thing. Gangrene looked around, but found no plugins nor any blunt objects to smash it with. Remembering all the chaos that Grimlord caused over the past few years, realizing he was a vile billionaire in his actual form, he seized upon the prism and touched it with an eager grip. The alien felt a painful shock. An electric current coursed through his arm. The impact threw him off his feet just nearly a foot away. He crashed onto some nearby office furniture. Gangrene! They rushed to their fallen ally, asking if he was okay. The dragon was still stunned from the sudden blow, almost unable to move his excruciating muscles. The skeleton wished she'd be the one to touch the prism. I should have known we wouldn't have access to the prism so easily. I should have tried. That's what we get for assuming. Nice try, Gangrene. A for effort. Well, well. Looks like we got some intrusive gnats crawling around our boss's turf. The group jerked their heads as they looked behind. They saw three women in black skin-tight uniforms consisting of lightless tank tops, leather pants, and boots. Each one of the secretaries looked alike as they all wore intense eyeshadow and mascara. Their shiny, dark blonde hair were tied back in buns. They were skinny and had pale skin almost as white as bone. Let's just say we took a wrong turn. We were about to do some trick-or-treating here, but we simply got lost. A simple navigational error. She was about to walk off until one of the secretaries grabbed and held on her bare limbs to the point of nearly twisting it. Our master never likes trespassers, and he despises trick-or-treaters. And we saw you sneak over to the prism and attempted to destroy it. Good thing Mr. Ziktor activated the defense mechanism while he's doing his own personal affairs. He ordered us to destroy you, and so we shall." All three girls stood at attention, their bodies transformed into a group of skugs. "Oh no! Not them again!" They leapt up into the air and confronted the group. The mutants shielded their young trooper and Galileo from their advances as they bravely fought them off. It was proven to be easy until they noticed the trio change. They did a fighting pose, facing each other with their arms and hands curled up, and turned into ultra skugs. "Those monkeys are really starting to rattle my bones!" They fought them with every tooth, claw, and bone they possessed. Even Cheetah and Galileo participated when the thugs gained on them. The robot used his evasiveness as well as its metallic hands to defend itself. As experimental as Cheetah's powers were, her abilities were automatic. The whipping tail couldn't get enough of them as it kept on whacking and tripping the skugs. Her dark yellow sharp claws sprung from her nails as well as her setae. By the time one managed to abduct her as it wrapped its arms around her, she kicked and screamed, trying to escape. The mutants worried that they may disappear through the ground and take her hostage to Grimlord. But suddenly Cheetah let out a screech as loud as she could. It was so ear-piercing that it actually caused some sound waves toward the surrounding individuals. Everyone was holding their burning ears. Skugs were the most affected. Mutants saw their chance as they teamed up and forced each skug back toward the one the most open. As usual, when they made contact, it dissipated as their bodies squirmed. "Wow, that was amazing! Those skugs definitely got what they deserved." "Indeed they did. You weren't too shabby either. For a robot, I mean." It, it was incredible. "Her powers have yet to be fully tested. Tyler really knew what she was capable of, as well as the cheetahs." "Yeah, but how are we supposed to destroy that prism?" She reluctantly contacted JB via her VRVT, wondering if he was still preoccupied with the war. It had a yellow coating with wildcat spots covering it. She gave him their literal crippling predicament. In his trooper avatar, he greeted to her in a mutant, saying it was a great idea bringing in Galileo. He said they could use him as a means to absorb the volatile energy. After all, Grimlord actually did the same thing to Tyler, as a sort of download while he retrieved his knowledge. He figured Galileo can do the same, draining the essence trapped within the crystal. "All you gotta do, Cheetah, is command it to. No different than Oriclon absorbing its data, trying to find the secrets to her own abilities. So it's basically the reverse." "Okay, I think I understand." She ended the transmission, knelt next to Galileo, and gave the command. "Galileo, hook up to Grimlord's prism and absorb its energy. Right away, Cheetah." The R2-D2 did just that. Its body opened, never received any damage. Instead, it utilized the energy flow toward its memory core and sucked in the data like a leech draining blood. She and the mutants were so astounded by this. The two monsters even laid a couple grenades next to it. "You're not gonna blow up the place, are you?" "I hope the city folk wouldn't notice. Otherwise, they'd be sent to the graveyard." "I'm sick of waiting. It ain't my style. Hurry up, we need to demolish this blasted thing, and maybe the ominous office as well." Cheetah's VRVT chirped in her pocket. She picked it up. It was JB again. "Cheetah, is Galileo uploading Grimlord's crystal?" "He is." "Good, but I should warn you. I have a bad feeling that his information may corrupt Galileo's circuits. As soon as he's done, can you bring him to virtual reality?" "I think so. Why?" "Because it'd be great to give Grimlord the element of surprise. I'll tell you as soon as we dock on." The message was interrupted when the skybase was being shook. The troopers were under attack. "We got some company. JB out." Her screen shut off, and they were anxious as they waited for Galileo to finish processing Grimlord's encrypted codes. Back at the skybase, the troopers and mutants found themselves in the middle of an energy charge. The entire sky turned into a dark mix of fuchsia and black. times Colonel Icebot kept rapidly firing some volleys of lightning and streams of ice to disable the aerial cruiser. Nevertheless, JB unleashed several missiles which seemed to have no effect. Eventually, the troopers and mutants decided to abandon ship, and conveniently enough, they landed into Colonel Icebot's control room. "Is everyone okay? That landing almost shattered my bones." Several robots surrounded the group, and Clock confirmed those were the Turbo Techies, the elusive inhabitants from Asteroid 66. Instead of surrendering, the guys fought them off until they got to Icebot. During the attack, Kaitlin offered to use her VR double team, to which Snake didn't really approve of. The heroes succumbed to some electric shocks, though both Snake and Clot advised them to go to the Techies directly, as they had weak reserves and poor defenses. They made up for it in decent offense, though with their wired footballs of destruction. Through a team effort, the two Kaitlins and JB used their laser guns and fired upon them, rendering their wires fried and took the malicious machines out of commission. They then used the power transfer command to restore JB to full strength. For one of the display screens, apparently they were the defensive side, while they believed the offensive side dealt with Darkstar dragons and even reinforcements from the Toxic All-Pros and Manic All-Stars. If you guys have played Mutant League football, you should know those last two teams are by far the best. From before, it looked like they were winning almost effortlessly, and they were being struck down by Grimlord's anticipated forces, including the lethal strikes from Despair's staff. Frigid interior became even more unsettling as the chambers were being coated in ice, frost by the bursting pipes. JB advised the group to stay away from the bone-chilling emissions, and soon came across Icebot. "There you are!" "Ha ha ha! You're just in time, troopers. You may have destroyed my altered mutant from last time, but I've been developing a trick up my slick sleeve. You five won't be so lucky. You will never destroy me like you did with Ibar. Your affirmation for your professor would be futile." "What did you say?" Unfortunately, slipped through their fingers beneath a hatch in the floor. Plugclot and the Tech Whiz led the way as they descended. They went onto a few unusual conveyor belts and soon ascended into another chamber as they fought off more robots, avoided a few warheads. JB actually slid under one and vandalized it with his VR Super Saber. Aside from the laser pistols and grenades the mutants used, this was the primary weapon during the hunt for Icebot. They finally got to the next area. A few large enemy bots got in their way. Something was forcing them forward. The wall behind them was pushing them toward the other end. The wall ahead looked exactly the same as the one pushing them. There was a climb that appeared to be about 50 feet high. Troopers and mutants ascended as quickly as they could, but the walls were rapidly closing on them. One of the Kaitlins began to get nervous. "This is not good. We're going to be squashed here. I've got an idea. Quick, JB, use your fighter bike." "All right, VR fighter bike command, now!" The vehicle emerged as it clung onto the left wall. The original Kaitlin got on board with JB, and she shot the sickle to the top. The other Kaitlin held onto the motorcycle, as did the mutants. "Hurry up! The walls are gonna destroy our boats to dust!" "Hang on!" Boosted the fighter bike, and zooming up the walls, the other side continued to crush their poor flesh, metal armor, and limbs as flat as pancakes. Luckily, they escaped in just the nick of time. They caught their breath for a brief moment, and the black trooper wondered if his teammates were holding together. But all those traps as of late. This is way more disturbing than a horror movie, is it not?" "That sure was a close one. Yeah, we would have been finished for good if it wasn't for our quick thinking." After the quintet progressed further and fought off more armored foes, they soon came across a room that had an unusual gimmick. The gravity shifted, and somehow they were actually able to walk in the ceiling, while at times hold on to the ground, even though there were some large pointed arrows jutting up and down. Thanks to the improvisations of using both plastic and metal armor, which was actually an idea based on the magnetic episode. I forgot what it was. Say, plastic can't be magnetized. Troopers were accustomed to this over a short period of time, but the ever-changing anti-gravity made the mutants nauseous. Heck, even when they lost their lunch, the vial actually stayed where they were. Ah, there goes the hearty meal I had earlier today. That was a good tender flock of fleshy dogs. She held her poor bare ribs. With some elbow grease resisting the pull, the trio fired the laser pistols toward a massive metal olive-green shaft, immersed into a spacious chamber where Icebot was controlling a humongous core computer. JB later realized it could operate the entire fortress. Not only that, but the large contraption in the surrounding area was capable of manipulating gravity pulls, hence the previous room having the same effect. While it was activated, Clot and Snake were stuck and being crushed up against the ceiling, and soon violently thrown from wall to wall. Ah! I don't want to die in a grave using intense gravity! The troopers also seemed to have that effect, though they could control their maneuvers using their armor, and the two Kaitlins destroyed the atom-looking objects orbiting the large computer unit using their pistols. JB eventually used his laser lance and struck the core directly in the center. Sparks and flames flew and lit the motherboard and the exterior. No! How can I lose my precious fortress to the likes of you troopers? Grimlord will make you pay for this. Soon I'll be reborn again. If I go down, I'll take you with me. The air castle began to self-destruct upon the anti-gravity unit's demise, as well as a permanent one for Icebot. As they ran off, the guys grabbed onto the mutants' stunned bodies. JB theorized that the air castle itself was being powered by the central core, allowing it to soar through the skies. It utilized elements of weather such as ice and electricity from the upper troposphere, though it couldn't get any higher than that in the virtual world. It was no doubt a crippling weakness to the air castle since it depended on the core's energy for power and transport. As the group was escaping, they were trapped since the runaway ended. Since the runway, actually. And their sky base had been eradicated from Icebot's attack earlier. They were so high above the ground that not even the fighter cycle could be too life-threatening, and the Troopertron would take forever at the rate the fortress is going. The Fearless Five were finally showing signs of dread as they braced for the worst, hoping for a fast light-speed method of transport would come their way. Remember when I said that Strider had an impact on me while I was into the VR Troopers, aside from the Mutant League? Here's another reference. The Vixens sort of remind me, or perhaps resemble close to, the Kunyang from Strider, beginning at the Sky Thunder MK2, the fusion level. We're a vicious team of women that specialize in deadly martial arts. Each one is color-coded, but unlike the Vixens, they appear in a group of usually 3, with the 4th one as a mysterious member. They seem to function in sync and appear to be lethal in combat and strikingly efficient. I always thought that they'd be related to Despair as a sort of mother figure to them. Wrong again. And here are more songs. That scream that Cheetah made was inspired by the mutant from X-Men, Banshee. She may not use it to fly, but it was a great idea to help stun their enemies in times of great distress. I also came up with that idea from Simba the King Lion, a Korean anime series in which the cub emitted sound waves to make his enemies disoriented and vulnerable. Although it was a onesie for me. A few sequences were also inspired by the Genesis game, including the part I always get stuck on when I was a kid, with the moving walls. The last portion was also another inspiration, as this was the final segment as part of the flying battleship Balrog. The central computer was a central part, thus its destruction, and also put a hindrance to Grandmaster Meow's plans, and in this case, Grimlord's. But the troopers and mutants are trapped within the air castle. They've been stranded upon losing the sky base. Will they escape in time? What a huge cliffhanger since the first 2 episodes. A 2-part pilot. And much like it, there's a cliffhanger and suspense. Will they escape? Well, find out next time. And I leave you with this scary song. Ooh, I should have played this sooner. Actually, wrong song, guys. I'll present it to you next part.